Hey, what's up, guys? It's Boomy here. We've got a great video for you today because joining in with me is my friend Mike Healy. You probably have seen him on YouTube. He has great YouTube channels. He makes websites that really help people with all kinds of things. He's this great marketing guy, and like I need to learn the stuff that he knows. We all need to learn from this guy. But I asked Mike to come on today because y'all know I've been talking a lot since 2017 about getting into the crypto space, why you should learn about cryptocurrency and the difference that it can make with your family. And we've also been talking about a project that I've been blessed to have learned about, and we've been talking about the ups and downs of that project and the good stuff that is coming down the pike with it that I don't want you all to miss out on. So with that, we're going to have a great conversation. Listen to the whole thing because you're going to come out on the other side really inspired. And first, Mike, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit, about you, where you're from, and kind of what's your specialty.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Boomy. I appreciate you having me on here. This is going to be fun. If we go way back, well, first off, I'm married. My awesome wife, Stacy. I think we've been married it's probably 27, 28 years. Only wife I've had, which is good. I got 3 kids. They're all grown up. They're out of the house. I turned 56 next month. I live in Columbus, Ohio. And then if we go way back, I was actually, I was in the bar business. I was a bouncer and bartender for quite a few years, like 10 years.
Okay.
And then got fed up with that. And it was just, not the lifestyle you would want to have when you had a marriage going on. And then I got introduced to network marketing and direct selling. And I didn't have a college degree. I was supposed to go to the military. Didn't do that because I broke my leg. So I didn't know what I was going to do with my future. That's why I was in the bar business. And somebody took me to a meeting. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a job interview. I'd never heard of networking and so on. And I just met some guys that were cool. They were kind of country guys. You'll notice I got a hillbilly accent a little bit myself. And they were just cool guys. And they were just talking with a vision of the future financially that I'd never put in my head. And that was going on about 28, 29 years ago. And then I just kind of went with the flow and I was like, hey, there's a different way to do things out there, be an entrepreneur. So I just kind of did that. And I've been very successful over all these years. It took me a while to get started, like 10 or so years before I actually made any real money, like the decent size stuff. And then just started learning stuff as I went because I'm old enough to remember dial phones. Like they were connected. We had a party line where if the neighbor was on the phone, you could hear them talking. And
you remember that? No, I don't remember that. I remember my mother talking about that.
I've been around.
Only 56.
First presentation I ever saw was on a paper flip chart because that was a high tech technology. And then slideshows came out, then overhead projectors, and then we got beepers. And so I've literally watched that. And what's happened is probably it had to be about 15 years ago. I heard I really started to see there was this thing called the internet that was going to probably make an impact. And then I was going to have to learn this new technology if I wanted to even be relevant and know what I was doing, which kind of leads us into this conversation because crypto, if you think about it, has a huge learning curve because it's just kind of contrary to everything we were taught in school, anti this. And, you got to remember who some of the people are that poo-poo it. They're kind of there because they can't control it. Like once you let crypto out of the bag, it's the genie's out of the bottle, right? And that's what's nice about it. It's kind of what they call decentralized, meaning it's fully transparent, where they're not hiding stuff and so on. So anyhow, that's kind of 30 years in about 3 minutes. So that's where I'm at.
Well, you talked about the vision for the future, and that made me think of it's pretty cool how we can move through life because of seeds that someone may plant in us, and we never know where it's going to come from. So you met these guys and you're like, hey, okay, I see there's a different way of doing things. You're inspired. You took action because not everybody does, so you took action, learned about the internet. And so now here we are. And I was on a Zoom with you last year and I heard you say you had heard about crypto, but had never really stepped into it before. What was it, before a year or two ago?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this, and this will be a good story for where we're at. So I had heard of crypto. Like, I mean, people mention it to Bitcoin, this thing called Bitcoin
Right.
years ago when it first started. You know, it was $5, and I had some buddies that bought it when it was like 500, and then when it went to 700, they sold and they were happy, and you know, blah blah blah. And other than that, I tried to learn because I'd heard crypto was trading, and that went way over my head, right? Like I didn't know what a blockchain was. I didn't know how crypto was. I'd never heard of a ledger. I never heard of a crypto wallet. I mean, nothing, knew nothing, right? And I want to compliment you before I keep going. Is we met for the first time, I believe, in person was in Punta Cana. And it was nice because I'd seen some of the stuff you'd done online yourself, like some videos and things like that. So I was real impressed with what you did, but it was nice to meet you in person. And what was cool is you might not have known this, but there were some people that that were kind of around your table in certain areas that they had really nice things to say about you. So they complimented you without you knowing that. And I'm just passing that on. So you know, anybody following you, you know, you're getting somebody with quality and character, which is great. So all that being said, my buddy Travis, who I'd known for probably going on 15 or so years, he and I were never, Travis Flaherty, we were never in networking together and everything like that. We just knew of each other in the industry, you know, both decent sized earners. And he is the one that contacted me and said, there's this thing, you can buy these nodes. Like, what the heck is a node? You know, like I node what? I don't node nothing. I don't node nothing, you know? And so we started chit chatting. And to me, it started to make more sense when it was becoming a digital asset that had the potential to produce rewards, right? So I'm like, because I've been studying that, you know, you study gold, silver investing, real estate, blah, blah, blah. And so that's kind of where I got started. So I was like, man, this is way over my head. But all I knew was if I got in this company, IX, and I bought these licenses, they were going to potentially do something. And so at that point, I was willing to risk losing any money I was putting out, like anytime, because I learned a while ago to take full responsibility for any decision I make. I am so tired of the whiners out there that said, well, you said this and you said this. I may have said that, but own up to your own decision. That's what I learned how to do. Because I did that with an investment one time that I put a ton of money into something like it's probably about $15,000 on a project I knew nothing about. Didn't have any, you know, really shouldn't have put any money into it. And I did it.
Me too.
And I complained and I complained and I complained. And one time I was complaining and, you know, I think it was kind of like the little Holy Spirit shout. It said, you know, you made your own decision. Stick with it. It was just kind of like this weird, because I was ranting and raving and it just kind of settled me down. I was like, oh, that really makes a little more sense, you know?
So you're hearing from the Lord.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, okay, that makes sense if I'm gonna make these decisions without asking. So anyhow, long story short. So what was cool was, I was like, okay, there's something here. You know how you can just sense there's something here. And so it made more sense that I'd understood enough, heard enough about crypto that it made sense. But I'd never heard of anything attached to commodities, like a real world asset that you could tangibly picture in your head. And so that's what really appealed to me. And so that's why I took more time to do the due diligence of digging in. And when we were at Punta Cana, what was so funny is I literally knew nothing of what I was talking about. And I was in the pool and I saw some debt guys over there, the guys that I knew were, you know, because they basically were invited to come along. And I know a lot of those guys are, you know, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and you know, networkers are kind of crazy, and I get that, right? We're kind of off the rocker sometimes, and so I kind of snuck my way in the pool. I brought my wife Stacy. We're kind of sneaking over there, and there was like 3 or 4 guys in the pool, and so I kind of snuck in, and there's this guy with kind of a boony little hat on and sunglasses on, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, my name's Mike. I'm on the trip too," and you know, I was just kind of curious if I could ask any of these guys. Like, yeah, sure, no problem, no problem. And so I literally had this. Well, then the other 2 guys, I don't know who they are, and I'll probably never recognize them. And they were kind of like, you know, oh, geez, this guy knows nothing. And they kind of drifted off. They drifted off more towards the bar. And this guy stood there for 20 minutes in the pool and answered probably first grader crypto questions. And I really was nice about it. I was really, I felt so good about it that somebody took the time to do that. Because I knew, you know, and I was trying to ask as high level as I could, but it was like, how does this work and what do you do? And what was so funny, I said, well, I really appreciate your time. I know you've been in a group. I'm so sorry for monopolizing your time. My name is Mike Healy. And he says, oh, yeah. I said, what's your name? He says, Jake Anderson. And I'm like, Jake Anderson. I know that name. And I go, oh, my God. I go, take your hat and sunglasses off. And it's Jake Anderson, Jason Anderson's brother. And I mean, you want to talk about feeling like a putz. I had no idea. But to me, that was such a really cool thing that here was a guy that a total stranger didn't know anything, and so that gave me more confidence.
And for people who are like, okay, well, who is Jake Anderson? Let's tell them real quick. No,
well, Jake and Jason are basically the gentlemen that created the whole debt ecosystem. Like they've been doing this stuff for 15 years since it launched, and they're just brilliant human beings. Yeah. And Jake was the one that was interviewed on that long 1 hour thing, that video that they did with Joe Martinez back, not this past December, but the previous December, which was phenomenal. And it was an hour and 15 minutes long. I listened to it 4 times in detail and just started to really absorb the information. And to say that I think we're on to something is an understatement. But go ahead and we can. I know I had 2 cups of coffee. I usually don't have one. So you're getting.
Well, no, I love this. I love the story, and it made me think back to when I was first introduced to the Debt Box Project, because before then I was on video telling people, guys, like, learn crypto, but you don't have to do a business with it. Like, you don't have to mix network marketing and cryptocurrency, because so many things were bad and they were Ponzi's and people really weren't learning about crypto, and I didn't feel good about people mixing those together. But when I got the call from Cedric Harris and I got on the first call with Travis, first webinar, and he talked about crypto backed by real world commodities, I was like, wait a minute, now this may be something different. So just like you, the real world commodities part got me. And then I had a friend who was listening at the same time who I invited. And when we got off, he said, send me your link, sign me up. I've made $1 million with nodes. I want to be all on this. My team is going to be all over this. And I'm like, what? I've never even heard of the word node. And you, who's supposed to be at least an associate, you've made $1 million. Like, why didn't you ever call me and tell me about this?
I had the same phone call. I had a guy that the second guy I contacted, I remember hearing that I thought he was in crypto, and he goes, Mike, I made 1.7 million last year in crypto. I'm like, wait, what? He goes, in nodes. He goes, I'll look into everything. He goes, because I'm very connected. I know some people in the government. I know where all the licenses are held and so this guy did some real deep digging and got back to me like the next day and said, Mike, you have no idea what you have your hands on here, do you? I go, no. I said, but I'm going to listen. And so what I kept doing was inviting people on a Zoom with him and anybody else, because they just wanted to hear it over and over and over and over. So it was like, kind of like it's when you throw the puzzle pieces out on a table for the first time, it seems like a daunting task to be able to put this together. But then pretty soon you get the corners connected, and pretty soon all the pieces start to fall together. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at now, as far as comfortable with a conversation of what we have our hands on with, the way the debt ecosystem is and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I feel that we're blessed because for us, it wasn't just, we're just hearing about it from someone. And like the vision for us wasn't approachable, meaning like we got to meet the visionary, the people at the head of it. I don't know. Were you in Utah?
No, I wasn't. Okay. I've only been on like one event because I hadn't even really been in that long. I think Utah had happened. Or you guys did the one you're talking about in January,
right?
Last year.
So just being there and seeing the Debt Box Council and hearing their story, and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are genius minds. This isn't your average just deal where people are talking about, we're backing about something and it's not really, backed by anything. These guys were working in Africa for 10 years in the commodities market and just got this God genius idea to partner commodities with the crypto space. So anyway, fast forward it to now. I mean, we know this is a real awesome project, and awesome really is an understatement. I feel so blessed to be a part of this. So let's talk about really just quickly what happened with the SEC, because we have this project that's blessing so many people, that's on so innovative, on a cutting edge. And then what happened in August?
The sky fell out, literally. It fell, and it felt like everybody got punched in the gut, right? To say the least, or kicked in the stuff. So the SEC basically, out of nowhere, put on what they call an ex parte TRO, which stands for temporary restraining order. And an ex parte means they don't have to tell the quote unquote guilty party what they're about to do without any kind of, it's basically guilty without any kind of evidence or whatever. They just locked it up. And they had told the judge, a federal judge, that there was this company that was dealing in crypto and they were running this illegal thing and they were moving money offshore and it was all a scam and everything that they'd posted was lies. And I remember getting sick to my stomach. I literally did. I physically felt ill because I had put some good money in to buy the licenses. Everything was running on track. I had just started listening over and over to that recording I was telling you about a minute ago and just really believed that they were onto something. And then this out of nowhere. And I'm like, that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, I just can't, because I told just to be blunt, I told a friend of mine, I said, there's a million other ways you could figure out how to scam somebody. Why would something be so elaborate to try to do this? And I go, I don't believe it. I go, I just hope that these guys have good enough lawyers to come back. And so you start fast forwarding, that was a hillbilly accent right there. Forwarding, you look at what was nice is because it was because it has to be on, the digital side where you can see all the transcripts of everything happening and you can read the court documents and stuff piece by piece, but lot by lot, the SEC case fell completely apart.
Yes, it
to
did.
The point that the Judge Shelby basically verbally came after him and said, you lied multiple times. And then he gave him a chance to refute what they said, and they lied again. And then basically after everybody called him out and all that, they basically said their apology was, we'll train our people better. Hundreds of millions of dollars and in damages to the ecosystem, and tens of thousands of people worldwide have been negatively affected by what the SEC did. And they were like, sorry. Yeah, we set fire to your house, burn it to the ground. We'll tell our guys not to play with matches anymore. That was basically what happened. And so they finally came out, kind of the last few things that had happened was they came out and said, well, we just want to dismiss this. Well, then the dead guy said, we don't want to dismiss this. We want to dismiss it with prejudice, meaning it's like you can't come back after us again for any other things. And apparently everybody was supposed to meet March 7th in person, according to Judge Shelby, but then he said, we don't even need to do that. So we're kind of in a kind of a limbo state as to what the decision is going to be. But at the end of this, not only did they get caught, not only with the excuse that they gave to the judge, there were, I believe it was 5 or 6 U.S. senators, 5 or 6 U.S. senators that wrote a letter. And if you read the letter, they were basically ripping the SEC a new one and basically calling them out, saying you as a government entity are responsible for the protection of the people. Instead, you basically destroyed lives and lied about it. I mean, in a nutshell, I summarize that, that's what they did. And so Judge Shelby basically told everybody, don't bother coming out here. I'm going to give you news shortly. I mean, it literally could be any day that they say, hey, we dismiss this with prejudice, and he could sanction the SEC, which would be unprecedented. I think that's why it's taken so long to get the final decision, even though both parties and the SEC said we need to dismiss this because we got caught with our hand in a cookie jar lying. It's going to set crypto case precedent is why it's such a significant thing. So now let's decipher some good news on this, and then I'll let you take over again on your call. Is during this whole period, if you started to read some of this stuff and let the dust settle, you started to realize that it was almost a blessing in disguise because it validated everything we were doing. Like everything had to come to light. There was nothing hidden. they're proving our point in a good way now, the SEC, even though they negatively attacked us. And they've had to make, and DebtBox has made some transitions that's way more beneficial for us. And so during that period, I mean, a lot of us, when we watched the token price go down, accumulated. When the tokens were very low, we accumulated here and there, just in potential belief that there could be a swing upward. And I really believe that we are on the other side of that. I mean, I think that what we're about to see is going to shake in a good way the crypto industry itself, with how they have everything put together. And the more and more I learn about it, it's just it's going to be life-changing for a lot of people if they pull off what I think they're going to pull off. And everything leads me to believe that they are. So
yeah. And there's so much emotion in everything that you just said, because you said how you were feeling sick to your stomach when you first heard the news. And of course, we all across the world were shocked. But then seeing the guys that we know go to Ghana and be in the gold mines, and go to the oil, see the oil wells, and go through the agriculture crops, we're like, you can't fake that, right?
Right. They said that somebody said that they were blaming DebtBox, saying that they'd hired actors in Ghana. I'm like,
oh, come on now.
That's embarrassing that you even said that.
Crazy. So the whole time we were just like, you know what? Truth has to prevail. We're just going to believe that truth will prevail. Right. And it has. So the TRO, temporary restraining order, was lifted after about, what was it, 6 weeks or so? Do you remember?
At least 6 weeks. It took a while, but even though it was lifted, the receivership, which would be the people that they gave in charge. So when they brought in a TRO, it means that the SEC completely takes over everything.
Froze the assets, right?
They've not only froze the assets, but they froze all the wells. They froze everything. And like, people went and stole the equipment because they weren't.
People lost jobs because of what the SEC did.
Lots of people lost jobs because of what they did. They were like literally feeding their families. And before Christmas, they had to lose their jobs because the SEC lied.
Government overreach for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's as bad as you could possibly think it would be. And it's just sad.
And I heard it was something like $60 million. The DebtBox was affected to lost $60 million in business or something like that because of
estimated losses are probably closer to 300 or 400 million.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of heard that number. I can't verify it. I don't have the books and I don't everything, but but if you combine everything,
including the people,
if you include the people, if you include the commodities, everything's been, that got ripped apart, probably the money lost and ongoing. I mean, all the stuff all the time frame we couldn't mine, all the royalties that aren't coming in. I mean, if you really do it, it doesn't take long to add a number like that up.
No, I get it. I can see that for sure. And then, but like you said, we're the type of people, well, let's see the silver lining behind every cloud. And there's always a silver lining. So we were able to harvest the good in it. A lot of us realized we believed in the project. We know buy low, sell higher. Man, everything is on sale, fire sale now. Yeah. Let's accumulate. We believe in the debt token. We believe in the project. So when it went on sale, we scooped up a bunch of it. And so now here we are going into the version 2 of things, which some people think that what's happening now is just because of what happened with the SEC, but actually this was a part of the whole vision for the build out of the ecosystem. So talk about going into where we are now, this bridge to get to our own layer 1 blockchain.
Okay. So at this part, as I talk, verify everything outside source, because I'm going to just try to piece it together the best I can.
Sure. Just in general.
I'm not an expert at this at all at this point, but from what I understand, everything was scheduled to do exactly where we're at right now. Back around September, it would have been September, October. They had planned already to do where we're at today. Like they already had the version 2 about ready to roll. The L1, which means it's called a layer 1, which kind of takes it to that ultimate level of crypto. was ready to go. I mean, they'd mentioned it on some of the calls the debt council had. And so that just basically, when you freeze all the assets and you can't pay employees to do data and, computer stuff, it slows everything down, obviously. So you have to play basic. Basically, we had a locomotive running and it was about to get to bullet train status. And then somebody came out there and stopped it. They literally, they went to an intersection and a train had come by and stopped that. So right now the bullet train's put together and it's now getting, the bullet train's moving, but it's maybe at 30 or 40 miles an hour. Whereas I think in the next week or two, it'll probably be at 100 miles an hour. And I think within 30 days, it's going to be bullet train status in a nutshell as to how it is, because of what they're like this week. You're going to see a bunch of stuff come out. Like the old legacy projects are all able to be minted. They're releasing 2 more projects this week, supposedly. One happens to be a crypto ATM project somebody started, which is machines. You will literally be able to take fiat, go to a machine and exchange it for Bitcoin or debt token. That's the whole project. It's going to have fewer NFTs that'll be able to be minted, like max of like 25,000. So some of these things are going to, move very quickly. So I think what they're doing is so everything's kind of moving together. And a lot of it is the reason it takes so long is if you've never done computer programming or code or anything, people have no idea the detail. Like literally one letter could be out of whack and mess up a whole system, right? It's like literally that complex. And it takes a while to do it. Everybody just thinks, well, you go in and you push a button. There is no button. You're creating this language, computer language that's matrix that they have to do. So it takes time. And the most important thing is you have to make sure that when you do it with all the security you possibly can muster up to make it, exactly what it has to be to really scale, to really handle the growth, handle that kind of thing. And so that's where they're at. They got some really good programmers. They always bring in more on. And, so they're kind of just pushing to the final, from what I understand and what I've heard, the final stage of the last of the other projects that haven't minted on the version 2 site. So you can see which ones have already been minted, meaning you can go in and you get them for free as an NFT. But if you want to mint them and receive royalties, you pay $25 minting fee, you keep it. And then once you have it, you do a thing called staking. Staking means that you just are putting it into kind of a contract that you're not going to do anything with it. It's locked up and the system knows that it's staying there. And that's how you receive rewards. And so that's kind of where everything's at right now. So this week could be real interesting. I mean, from what I heard, there's some potential stuff coming down. Again, things can change in a heartbeat. You know how that goes. But really excited about what's happening.
Yeah. So I want people to understand, you're hearing like a story. You may not understand everything that we're talking about, but what I want you to get from this is there is opportunity in the crypto space where if you connect yourself to real projects that have real use case, there's a potential to do very well. And so I want my audience to hear about what's happening, because it was funny, because when this first went down with the SEC, people were calling like, oh, I heard about what happened with your company, but I got an opportunity over here. I'm like, hey guys, look, this isn't your average network marketing company's story. Like we're talking about IX Global, that was the marketing arm for the vendors, the Debtbox, which was a vendor. And so we stopped selling the nodes as a company. IX stopped selling the nodes because, we couldn't any longer back then last August. But to IX, to their just glory, Joe Martinez, the CEO, we continued getting paid. Like, even though there was a TRO that was put on the company, a temporary restraining order, and assets were frozen, he found a way, even though his lawyer said, I would not pay people. Joe said, I am going to pay because I'm going to make sure that my brand partners in the field get what they're supposed to get. And so we didn't miss a week of pay, guys. It was just, it's so awesome. So big shout out to Joe Martinez. And then the other, like the silver lining is one of the things that Joe did was he said, well, let me put some other things in place so that when our company isn't just built on one thing. Yes, we believe in the Debt Box guys and that project, but let's add in some other verticals so that our brand partners can have access to other things to help to build out their lifestyle, to empower them, and to have even more substance with the company. So you saw we've added, and we have a wonderful travel lifestyle membership. One of my friends now was on a cruise thanks to the Dreams X travel club. We've added crypto education. We have a wonderful Ronin card to help people to move throughout the crypto space, and swipe and buy groceries with their crypto and do exchanges and things they need to do more easily. We have coaching and mentoring. So it's a whole robust lifestyle membership. So crypto is a part of my lifestyle. So that's a big part of it for me. Maybe it's not crypto for you. Maybe it's something else. So definitely look at what IX has, because Mike, I'm so proud that the company came out like even stronger. I mean, we still have recovering to do, but as far as just being able to be built out, it was almost like what some people meant for evil, God still used for good. And so it's just great what Joe Martinez has done with IX. I'm so happy to have the relationship back, moving forward together in the public with IX and the Debt Box. We have the Innate token. If nobody has told you all about the Innate NFTs, you need to learn about that. So we're not trying to tell you everything here, but my point is we've got a hold of something not just good, I believe is great. We're not financial advisors. We're not giving advice. You've got to do your own due diligence. But when I find something that's good, I'd like to share it, because I don't want people to say, oh, why didn't you tell me? Boomy, I see you traveling. Boomy, I see you doing this with your family and you're living a life of freedom. Like, why didn't you tell me some of the things you had access to? Well, this is us telling you because we care. So, Mike, as we start to wrap up, and now here we are, we're back earning, our rewards, and there's going to be some more that we'll be able to, more potential that's coming, more staking and minting and all that. So tell us, like, where do you see this thing going? Again, we're just talking potential, but like, I've heard some big numbers.
Not a financial advisor, not financial advice. Crypto is risky. You can lose everything. That's my disclaimer. So pay close attention to the disclaimer. So let me share with you what I have been learning and what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
So a node is basically a digital asset that you can purchase, which is software, cloud mine software that verifies a transaction on the blockchain. A blockchain is kind of like railroad tracks across the country. And it would be like your node is like an ATM machine that if somebody was here and they did something and then they went over to here and they made a transaction, like they swapped this for this, the node validates that. It's just, it makes a little, kind of like a check mark, right? A check mark, and you can see the number of what just happened. That's what makes it so unique, is it's totally transparent. Everybody can see everything going on. You might not know whose wallet is whose, but there are these big, long series of numbers, right? So that's a really cool thing. So all that being said, everything is also in the world is moving towards what they call tokenization. Tokenization is because of the ability to do digital with everything. People will now be able to convert any real world asset of any kind and deem it with certain, value. And what they do by tokenizing, it'd be kind of like the old days. This is the truth. The old days would be you buy stock. And when you buy stock, you think you are basically owning part of that company, and you have a stock certificate, which is that. Tokenization would be, in my brain, the similar way to do that, except on a digital scale, but in micro pieces. Because maybe I can't afford. So let's say somebody tokenizes the Cleveland Browns football team, which is, my pro team. I would be able to go in, and because they would have a certain finite amount of tokens for this, that means that once those tokens are all gone, you wouldn't be able to get any more. And it's called scarcity, right? When there's value and scarcity, when there's the supply and demand makes scarcity, right? So there's less of them. It'd be like if you had 100 Michael Jordan signed rookie cards, and one day there was 100 and everybody knew they had a specific amount of value. And then all of a sudden you found out 50 of them were burned in a fire. Now those 50 left are like worth twice as much, right? So that's how crypto works with tokenization and you're splintering real world assets. So now back to the original question. What's happening is these guys, the DebtBox guys, because they've been in crypto since day one, basically, and they were some of the original crypto miners. And there's interviews that Travis did that they explained what they did back in the day. What's happening is they figured out how to help tokenize businesses, real world asset businesses, gold mines, oil mines, satellite systems, water distribution, hemp growing facilities, things like that, and create value for the common person to go out and tap into that, right? And you'll be able to transact inside this ecosystem, one thing for the next, that kind of thing, and be able to purchase and stuff like that. And so what happens is as more money comes in to buy tokens, the value naturally goes up, right? You start to see the growth and more, what do they call it? Liquidity comes in, and equity in these businesses. Well, what is happening now is more and more people are starting to see that we're on the other side of the SEC thing, that there are more and more people are coming in and buying up these tokens, because not only, if you look at the debt token itself, the debt token is kind of the mothership that all other tokens fall under.
Yes.
And every one of them adds value to the debt token, which is trading right now right around $20 some. Well, it only would take maybe $1 million or $5 million to come into the debt system itself, and the price would go up to like $40, $50, $60, $80, like that. Well, what's happening is every single project, all these new companies that are coming in and tokenizing, are buying up a portion of debt tokens. And the minimum, I think, is like 2 million. Some of them are bringing 10, 20, 50 million dollars into the ecosystem to buy debt tokens. And they're not only buying them, but they're staking them, which means they're coming off of the market, which does what? It shrinks the supply. If you and I have 5 gold, if there was 100 gold coins sitting there, and now there's 5, we're fighting to get our 5 because they've got so much value. If you start to do the math on how much the price prediction could be if the Treasury, the debt guys, the debt council, and the Treasury starts bringing in 5 million, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, the debt token price just goes like almost vertical. They call it a whiplash effect. And you can quote me on this in a year, and there's a chance that we could beat Bitcoin to 100 grand.
Wow.
Based on the way the ecosystem is designed and where it is, because we got to remember too, Bitcoin is a theory. There is no commodity backing it. It's literally the antique now of the crypto industry.
Well, you made me sit up, but I'm like, let's just get to $100 token. I'm smiling. I'm in heaven.
Well, I can tell you how exactly it'll happen. So what happens is the Treasury and the trust, the part of the tokenomics, buys up the tokens with the royalties that come in off of every project. Every project, as it earns royalties, if I'm doing this correctly and the way I remember it, they're buying up tokens and they go into a vault that on specific dates based on the light papers, they burn those. It's called burning those, which takes supply and demand and goes from 10 tokens to 8 tokens to 5 tokens. But if more royalties continue to flow in, but tokens, the amount of tokens is dropping, what is happening to the price?
Going
and
up.
it's going like this, going less like this, going like this. Well, what happens when you have 10 companies, 50 companies, 100 companies that want to tokenize, because we have a system that allow them to tokenize like that?
And that's what I was going to say. I heard that there are companies that are waiting.
They're lined up.
That they're already lined up to get on to run on our chain, the debt chain.
Because speed is money, right? Money is speed is what they say. And our debt ecosystem, debt chain is what they call it, is like 100 times faster than any of the current other chains. Wow. Like I think there's like Ethereum and the Bitcoin, and these are kind of chains too, but it's not even close. So they can transact like in split seconds, thousands and thousands of transactions, which speeds up the entire ecosystem. And every single wallet holder, the way there was that video, in that video that Jake talked about, he expanded something, right? It was kind of like an orb. And he said every single time a wallet is opened up and has a crypto in it, it becomes a data point that would bounce to the next one, to the next one, and the next one. And the more wallets that come on, the faster this ecosystem can work. So it's like this ever-growing entity that gets faster and faster. And now you've got the treasury going in and buying it. And to understand this, and this will blow your brain and you won't be able to sleep. What happens if the treasury can come in and show somebody that they can have a collateralized loan on all of this stuff, and they can take that treasury money and go in and buy up the tokens? So if the system is worth $1 billion and they go in and get a loan for 200 million, and they put 200 million equally spread out on all the all of our assets, buy up those assets and burn them, guess what just happened to the entire ecosystem value? It went from 1 billion to 2 billion. Wow. Guess what you can do as a collateralized loan now? You can go out and get a $400 million collateralized loan. What can you do with that 400 million? Go in and buy up the tokens. Shrink the supply, shrink the supply, shrink the supply. Drive the value goes up, 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 up. You got collateral. Guess what you can do? And all these businesses that are tokenizing are coming in and jumping on board with the same ecosystem.
Listen, guys, I know you're like, okay, I don't know what in the world they're talking about. Just know that the vision is big and you don't have to be left out. Like a lot of times, the average man hears about these things after everything is already blown up. But like, here is your chance. I just love crypto because it's like power to the people, right? It gives us a chance to hold the pen in our financial lives, and this brand new asset class, only 14 years into currency, which is thousands of years old. And here we are, still at the beginning, just 14 and a half years or whatever, but it's still at the beginning. And we're blessed to be a part of a real project, not a Ponzi, not a scheme, not a scam. This is something that's real. You heard him talking about the tokenization of real world assets. So we are excited. If you've been listening to this, look, give us a call. We can help you to get positioned and start learning more about the crypto space and introduce you to, like, maybe you don't even have a wallet yet. We can show you how to open a wallet, how to purchase debt token, how to be a part of the community, get the education by partnering with IX, and really learn more about the relationship between us and the debt box. So, Mike, I told you 20 minutes. And we're more than double that. But it's been such a great conversation. You're just so knowledgeable, enthusiastic, and you look like you work out. I'm like, yeah, he used to be a bouncer. He's still in the gym. Look at that. Look at them guns. All right now. Ooh, I'm going to squeeze it when I see you. Tell your wife. I said, just give me one squeeze.
She'll be all right.
Okay. But guys, so we're having a great time over here. And let me tell you one thing about Mike. Mike is a servant leader. He has a heart to help, just like everybody. So when he does calls and things, it's not just for his own team. He's serving the community at large. Like when we had to learn to do some things in crypto, like the minting and the staking, he developed a full website, took the time to make all these videos to teach people how to do it step by step, and allowed anyone and everyone to access this information. That's the kind of guy that you see right here. So he is just world class. So I just appreciate you so much, Mike. I look forward to us traveling more places together and helping more people to benefit from what we've been talking about here. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Boomy. Appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Awesome. Have a great day, everyone. And remember, you are more powerful than you know. Bye-bye.